Alright guys, today I'm going to explain to you how the 5-thread cover stitch needs to be threaded in order to work properly. So this machine is called a JukiMF 7923. It says it right there. So if you ever need to look this up or find any information in the manual, this is the actual model number, but we're calling this the 5-thread cover stitch. That's because it has 2 woolly nylon looper threads. You'll see that this thread is a little bit different than this thread. It looks like kind of like a woolen, kind of fuzzy yarn. That's going to go on the bottom. And then you're going to have 3 threads that are coming into these top 3 thread guides that are going to be your actual top stitch colors. So you see 1, 2, 3 straight stitches here. And you see this zigzag stitch going through. That's the top thread. And then on the back, 1, 2, 3 threads. And then the second looper is going to come back and form the chain on the back and the front. So this is the effect that you're going to get with this machine. This is great for stretch knits where you want to actually see this zigzag, and it's also good for butting fabrics together, where you actually want to go over and create a seam across 2 folded materials, like a filled seam. Okay, so the main components of this machine are the power switches here. You should be able to turn the light on and off no matter what. Here's a very mini, tiny little thread guide if you ever run into trouble. But I'm just going to walk you through how each one of these 5 threads should go through the machine. Okay. First, we're going to start with the lower looper. This part of the machine opens up so that you can see how the looper thread should go through the machine on the bottom. So, step 1 is put the woolly nylon here. It should go through this thread guide, here, here, down and wrap around here, through this guide and around the tension disc. You should be able to just go over the top, make sure it locks in between these 2 tension discs right here. Don't ever change the tension unless you notice that something funky is happening. It should go down here and through this guide behind this little shield, and that is going to push it through to here. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because there's a hole right here. The thread needs to go through this hole so that it can go under the bar. So whenever you move the thread, when you move this mechanism, you should see the thread moving through this hole. So it goes in here, through the bar, and you can actually even thread it through here if you have a loose thread end, and it will slide down to the back, out the other side, and through this thread guide from the inside out. Okay, now we need to go through this guide, underneath this bar, which your thread should slide like right in between there, so you shouldn't have to ever kind of like thread it through here, there, here, here, and I'm moving the wheel so that you guys can see how it should go through the looper. It goes in from the back. Here's where you may need a threader or some tweezers. Out through the front, see right here, and through the hole to the back of this guide. This is a little hard to see because the thread is black, but that's the long and short of it. Okay, when you have that threaded, you can close this up. Okay, the second looper. Second looper is the one that's going to form on the top. So again, you need woolly nylon. It's going to go through here, following down the thread guide in the same way that the other one did up to this point. But this one is going to go on the top. So we're going to go through this guide, here to here. It's going to go from right to left through this hole, underneath this guide, right here, through this little slat, there, and then down. This is a little window thing that can move out of the way so that you can get into this thread guide. It's going to go around this tension disc, just around the bottom should be good, and then down through the thread guides, guiding it towards this arm. So once you get to this point, the main thing to remember is that it needs to go through this little like kidney bean shaped hole, and that little fork on the arm needs to pick up the thread. It's going to cross in front of the needles like this. That's how you know you have the loopers threaded correctly. Those are the two hardest things, is to make sure that the bottom thread is threaded through that like looper hook, and that this top thread is going in front of these needles, and then it's getting picked up by that little arm. You're never going to see the chain forming in this machine like you would in a regular serger. It should look like it's just 5 loose threads when it's coming out from underneath the machine. Okay, I would say that those are the two most difficult parts of threading this machine. The other top three guides are going to, again, just follow through the guides down to the tension disc here. And then each one of these is going to come in going left to right as the spools are on the spool. So 1, 2, 3. It's going to go up and through this guide, and then the one on the left here should correspond with the left needle. That needle position is going to be the lowest. They're going to be kind of like placed in the diagonal. If one of your needles breaks, you can take a little Allen wrench and just replace the needle. Ask a sewing tech to help you replace the needle. They will only go, the shank of the needle will only go into the needle slot a certain depth. So you should get this diagonal needle position no matter what. You can tighten it back down and then replace it. And the needle threads from front to back. So you're just basically, the most important thing is to make sure that this thread coming from this spool is loaded into the needle that's on the far left. The middle thread is coming from the middle spool, and it's loading to the middle needle. And then the one on the far right, this third thread, is going into the third needle position. Okay. And once you thread these, they can just go out into the back until you're ready to stitch. Okay, stitching with this machine. So I've done one sample stitch here. I'm just going to use the other side of my fabric to do another. So pedaling this machine, this pedal on the right lifts the foot. So I'm going to lift, and I'm going to make sure that my fabric goes underneath the needles first. And then I'm just going to begin sewing. Start out slow, and this machine should go pretty fast. Okay, now when you get to the end of your fabric, you can go all the way to the end, but don't go over the edge. Okay, stop. Use your wheel here. Turn it towards you to lift the needle up, making sure that that looper is getting caught in here, and lift the foot and gently pull the thread out. All right, and there you have it. That's how you